Our guest today is a comedian whose thought-provoking humor has us bugging up.
There's racial stuff that's funny, you guys.
Comedian Sammy Anzer uses his mixed-race background to examine all aspects of America.
Have you guys ever heard Japanese people say black people? They say, buraku pi buru. That's funny. Have you ever heard what black people call Japanese people? They call them Chinese people.
He's a sharp street boy turned educator turned comedian. He's performed with DL Hughley, Maria Bamford, Fahim Anwar, and Neal Brennan. He's based in Denver and represents every day for Queens, New York. Welcome, Sammy.
Thanks for having me, y'all. I appreciate that.
Welcome. We're so glad to have you. You have a unique style. I follow you on IG. Can you tell us a little bit about your comedic style and influences?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you, Terrence. I think a lot of my perspective comes from feeling like an outsider wherever I went. Even growing up in New York with every different ethnicity represented, as someone who's like multiracial, I felt like I never quite fit in. I was too dark for these people, too light for these people, not enough this for these people. And I think that that makes you a great comedian because comedians always kind of feel to me like they're on the outside of society. Because when you're on the outside, you can kind of see what everyone's doing and you could start like joking about it. So for me, the thing that like kind of made me feel bad when I was growing up was that I wasn't accepted by anyone. Actually kind of weirdly turned out to like be my superhero ability. And because of that, and like wanting to like create that atmosphere of like the atmosphere I grew up in New York, which is that like even all us different races, even though we all grew up together, like the way we learn to live with each other was by joking with each other. And that's what I want people to feel. That's what I want people to that's the kind of world I want to create with my comedy on and off stage.
That's awesome. Lonnell, I know you're multiracial as well. Is that
Yeah,
something you identify with?
yes, definitely. I could definitely relate to that. I'm Black and Filipino, 50% Filipino from my mom, and the other 50% is Black, of course. But it's like, which is crazy because the Filipino side is pure Northern Filipino, and then the Black side, it's like all over the place in African, descent. But yeah, just like him, just like Sammy said, uh being accepted, being not black enough to be a part of this group, or and then not Filipino enough to be with the Filipinos. It was like outsider, you gotta work your way in. You gotta be like, you gotta come in and be popular in your own way just to be accepted or whatnot. Not that I would necessarily seek out or try and find a reason to be accepted. Being me and true to myself, learning that, going through that process, made it easier to be accepted by any friend group or any racial group.
Wow.
And that's so impactful, right? Because there's these things where like people will create identity based on like shared characteristics. Like, as
Mhm.
Black people, we blah, blah, blah. Or as Filipino people, we always blah, blah, blah. And sometimes people will take that from you and they go, oh, yeah, but you're not really Black, so you can't blah, blah, blah. Or you're not really Filipino, so you can't blah, blah, blah. And you have to kind
Right.
of like invent your own definition of who you can be.
Right.
Wow. So,
True.
Sammy,
Sammy, I'm sorry, Terrence,
no,
to
go
cut you
for it.
off. I just have a quick question. Is there a specific racial group that you identify with?
I do, and as Terrence will probably tell you, or I don't know about this, I don't tell people. And it's part of my
Oh,
comedy,
okay.
and it's part of also what I do off stage, because the reason I do is that essentially, no matter who you are, how good of a person you are, whenever someone finds out something about you, what they do is they categorize you in their mind. They
Mhm,
go, oh, you're Black, so blank. Oh,
mhm,
you're a Democrat, so blank. Oh, you're a lawyer, so blank. And all these are like shortcuts to get to know a person. And what I try to do with my comedy and what I learned like off stage with my experience is like, what if I don't tell you? Right? Like I just
mhm,
deny you the ability to categorize me. And it's interesting because sometimes people will withhold who they voted for so you don't judge them. They'll withhold what's in their bank account so you don't judge them. They'll withhold their sexuality so you don't judge them. But no one has done it with their race, as far as I can tell, until me. So I'm doing a little science experiment, is the way I see it. And some people will like it, some people will hate it. And I'm just like not going to give people a shortcut to understand me. I won't. I refuse. Like, if you want to get to know me, you have to get to know my whole humanity.
If you guys are wondering my race, and you are, I don't tell people. When you look like this, you go to your employer and you could be like, yeah, I'm gonna need Kwanzaa off from work. Cinco de Mayo. Tour de France. And Toyota-thon. I'm also 1/16 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
I like that. Sammy, do you ever have people try to bully you into telling them?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Wow. What does that look like? What is bullying?
What happens is, like, a lot of times, like, I'll be talking to people, and I've been dealing with this my whole life, obviously, right? But like, I'll be like 2 minutes into a conversation, and I could tell that people are either starting to like me or starting to not like me, and then they'll go, "What are you?" And I could tell that they're just using it as a way to judge me, right? To either like treat me better because they think I'm one of them, or to treat me worse because they think I'm something that they don't like. And I just go, I'm not telling.
Wow.
Or after shows, people go, ha ha ha, that was funny. But what are you?
Wow.
And I'm just like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
Like that magician not telling his tricks, huh?
Yeah.
I really like that though.
Yeah.
It's a movement.
It's gotta take a lot of discipline, because at some point I'd be like, look, man, all right, I'm this, you know. So that discipline you have for that, especially being in the public eye, I would expect that somebody would either give it away on your behalf or you would cave in.
You know what's crazy though? The cool thing that's happened is that, like, all my homies who've known me like for like years and stuff, and like if like, you know, if I know someone for a while, like I'll tell them, like, I don't care. It's not that serious. But like my homies who are comedians, like they all hold the line for me. You know what I mean? If they like, no one's trying to like I could be like right now, I'll be like, oh, I'll tell you guys. And they'll be like, no, don't tell us, right?
That's what's up.
Because they understand what I'm trying to achieve, what I'm trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
I like that bigger picture. I really like that. Do you, or will you tell how many races are in your
Six
background?
different things. Six different like countries, at least. Yeah.
Man. You know, I looked at one of your reels and I thought it was really interesting how you handled this one particular heckler, and she was out there yelling diversity.
Yeah, she was yelling diversity at me.
How do you usually handle hecklers? How do you handle things in the moment?
Oh man. I mean, of course you want to make it funny.
Right.
And that's what I tried to do with this woman who was like yelling diversity at me, which is like as close as you could get to a slur without doing it. You know what I mean? Like just throughout like my set, just repeatedly yelling diversity, who by the way works for a college, a pretty prestigious one. And I shared the video. It went like viral in the community over there. I shared it with them and whatever. But I mean, you want to make it funny, but like when I can't make it funny, I just tell the truth, and that always works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like what's wrong with you? Like, why? Who wants to come to a comedy show and like hear me try and like, you know, make jokes about us like coming together as people and want to undermine that by yelling diversity at me like I'm like diversity is something that's happening to her.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. You know, I'm really interested, Sammy, in your writing process. The reel that caught my attention was the one that dealt with sensitive issues, yet at the same time, it was hilarious. How do you come up with this stuff?
I always want to make jokes about people, and I want them to keep their dignity intact. That's my thing. Like there's this big push in comedy. People are like, oh, woke culture. Oh, you can't say anything. And I'm like, you can say anything, but you have to say it from a place of love. If you wouldn't say it to that person across from the dinner table as a joke at dinner, then you don't have the right to say that joke, like straight up, right? So whenever I'm making a joke about like a certain group of people or something they do or something like that, like I'll always make sure, number one, the joke is coming from a place of love. Like when you joke with your brother or your sister, which is like what I want the audience to feel like, right? And I want to, like, I will specifically like run it by people of that community and go like, hey, like, are you offended by this? Is this disparaging to you? Whether it's like, you know, if I'm writing a joke about women, I'll run it by like several female comedians before I like feel that it's ready and stuff like that, or like family members or things like that. And I think that it takes longer, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Queens, New York. It's a very diverse city. My favorite thing about being in a diverse city, I'm not going to say there's no racist people, but I think it's harder to be racist because we all learn to grow up together, kind of like brothers and sisters in the same house. We learn to live with each other. We learn to joke with each other. Like, I texted my brown friend at 7:11 in the morning. And I was like, haha. It's your favorite time, man. And he was like, for the last time, bro, I'm Arab, not Indian, okay? So I texted him back exactly 2 hours later. I was like, it's your favorite time, man. You know what you did.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So a couple of friends of mine, I asked them the same thing. They do comedy as well out here in Bakersfield, Fresno area. One of the ones that I always find amusing asking is just, who ever gave you a run for your money following behind?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one moment I had to really step up. There's this comedian named Rory Scovel. I don't know if you guys heard of him, but he's fantastic. He's on like HBO and something like that. And like we was like on a local showcase and he dropped in and he just like ripped the place apart, right? And then when it was happening, like none of the local comedians wanted to go next.
Right.
And one of the club owners in the area goes, put Sammy up, he'll do it. And they're like, you'll do it, right? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And it was one of those times where I just came up and I was like, all right. I got up there and I was like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm about to try real hard. I'm gonna give you guys everything I got. And it worked really well. It worked really well.
Are you like an adaptive type of performer where, like in a situation like that, for instance, did you find more material or think of more material, create more material as you were going, or was it like stuff like you really had to reach in your bag?
I think it was like reaching in the bag, but also like the thing is that like I said, is that if you can't, at least my mentality is like, if you can't be funny in the moment, just like address the truth. And that's what I did. I came up there and I told them, I was like, hey, listen, this is gonna be a challenge, but I'm going for it.
Hey, so you told them how many ethnicities you have?
We need to hear that joke so we can figure it.
I hope this is not the bullying you.
Yeah, we're not the bullying.
Yeah.
We're
No,
good.
you guys are safe. You guys are safe. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm at a personal season in my life where I'm doing a lot of mentoring for young men. And it seems like a lot of people are trying to find out who they are, especially in a age where communication is via text as opposed to talking to people. Being someone, I love what you're saying about how you're a person who will deal with the difficult issues, talk the truth, while at the same time kind of operate from a place of love and compassion. I'd like to know what you would say to young people who are feeling like you did, who felt like they did not fit in just because they didn't fit in a certain mold.
Good question. A lot of times young people are trying to be normal. And I think that's a hard thing to do because none of us are normal. Because there's expectations on us in our society of what we're supposed to like, how we're supposed to talk, both from, let's say, predominantly white American culture and within our cultures respectively, right? These ideas of like, oh, you don't like basketball? Like, what's wrong with you? Oh, you like art? You like painting? That's weird. And when you're a young person, those things from your peers hit you harder. And when you get older, you learn the beautiful thing about getting older is that you don't care about that. And you want to be, it's more valuable for you to be who you are. And if I was talking to young people, I would tell them that, like, the things that you feel are bad about you are really the best things about you.
That's good.
Really good.
I like that. I like that. I too have found that my biggest struggles have become my superpowers as well.
Right?
I think
That's the
that's
way it
awesome.
always works. That's the way God does it. It's like whatever you're trying to run from, that's what you really need.
So true. What would you like for people to know about you?
I think I'm always trying to be seen for what I'm trying to achieve and like my underlying message. And I love it when people can get it through my comedy, like you have, and like you reached out to me. And I think that there's so many more people who just go, oh, like this guy's making like a race joke or something like that, right? And I think that we all really want to be seen for like who we are in our heart and what we're trying to achieve, like the things that we most deeply believe. And the thing I most deeply believe is that we shouldn't focus on our differences, that we're more similar than we are dissimilar, that um, we can come together by laughing about difficult things. And I want people to be weird because we're all weird in some way, and I'm weird, and you guys are weird, and I want people to feel accepted.
That's
I want
awesome.
people to feel accepted, like,
How do you work through your pain? And when I ask you that question, I'm thinking about a comedian like Robin Williams, for example. Sometimes
yeah.
people get up and they're making people laugh, yet they're struggling behind the scenes. How do
Yeah,
you personally deal with your personal issues, yet at the same time do your job if you're having a difficult day?
that's a good question. Yeah, I was having a difficult time, which I emailed you about, and I appreciate that. And honestly, I think for me it is comedy, and for me it is I think everyone needs a creative outlet because especially comedy, but also poetry. I volunteer with a poetry organization called Art from Ashes, where I help like at-risk youth by like teaching them the power of poetry. And
Nice.
the reason for that is that, and I would argue that comedy does this too, but any of the arts, but they allow you to reclaim the narrative. So like when I was younger and
Mhm.
something bad would happen to me, like, just be like, oh, I overslept for my job interview. Right? It's like it becomes something stupid, right? Instead of
Mhm.
becoming a sad story that makes me feel bad, I'm like, yo, guess who slept for their job interview? Boom, 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 right? And suddenly it's a story that's told, and every time it gets told and we get together, we're all laughing. And that allows you to reclaim the story that you tell yourself, right? And poetry can do that, and writing can do that. And I think that for me, whenever something challenging happens, like, and even when not, I'm just always thinking, like, what's funny about this? Like, what's funny about this? Where can I find the humor in this? And that's how I've got through everything I got through in my life so far is by that. Like, I'm sure you guys have heard jokes about it. Like, poor people, sometimes we don't have shit but humor. Like, that's how we make it. So I really, really believe that I want, and it doesn't even have to be like a professional thing or like you trying to achieve something and get a million views or whatever it is. I just really think that everyone should have a creative outlet of some kind, like make a vase, paint a painting, don't even let it be good. Just do something to let go of those things inside of you because kids do those things. And only when we get older do we stop.
That's true.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I know that the world is changing in many ways, even in our, political government, we're having changes in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a variety of other things. And you have different comedians and people who are out there commenting on those things, yet they, still about their comedy life. I'm curious what your thoughts are about comedians expressing their political views.
I just don't want it to feel cheap. You know what I'm saying? Like so many of them are like just trying to like ride the algorithm and like I don't know how like the general population like consumes the stuff, but like sometimes like like I'd say like Elon Musk did the Nazi salute, right? and then like, 40 comedians on the internet. I don't know if this is on your feed or whatever, but like they're all talking about like they're making a joke of the Nazi salute. But they all feel like cheap takes. I don't know how to exactly explain this idea. Like, it's like women be shopping, right? It's like when you hear something like that, like as an audience member, you're not like moved. You don't feel like you discovered a profound truth. You feel like someone made a base level, superficial take that you've heard before that like kind of like it cheapens and it demeans the thing. And like I'm waiting to like hear some, I mean, I have some good DEI takes, which I could send you after this. But I mean, they haven't been recorded yet. But they will be. But that's what I want. I just want to make things that I would want to see. And when someone makes something cheap that feels like it insults my intelligence or makes me feel like they don't actually care, like I'm bored. I'm bored
Right.
and I'm like, you're wasting our time. Get out the way.
I know that that's what I really like about your comedy. I like things that are meaningful. I too don't like I even when it comes to just watching a good movie and a show. Lionel knows this. He's read my novels. I like an unpredictable story. I don't like something that's predictable. That's just
Yeah.
recycled. So I like that.
Yeah, I'm the same way with movies too. Like sometimes like you ever throw in a movie and then you just like can't finish it because you just like you know where it's going, you know exactly what's happening. Like it doesn't accurately show the complexities of what it's like being human. It's like, damn, that robot is gonna be a car too? Like that's crazy. And he believes in justice and freedom. Wow.
After reading your novel, it just raised my level of expectation on what good is when it comes down
Right?
to a story or a movie. And since I got into film production and
Mm.
I'm heavy into that now, it's no fun to watch movies with me anymore. Because
Yeah,
I
right.
know what I know where they're going. I'm like, ooh, I see where this is going. And then those magical words, those magical moments, it's like I say before they say it. And they're like, no way. If whoever's watching the movie with me, they're like, nah, he ain't got it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, so it's like it's no fun. Those little clips that Sammy's talking about, I think today's society has been washed or herded into having such a short span of attention that it's the good things that get away from them and don't last. Like coming up before social media, well, the TikTok and Instagram and all those posts, those 30-second little posts. Before that, you could watch something and it resonate with you for a longer period of time, if not for a lifetime. Moments that you spend with family could resonate with you and even shape your character. Now it's a temporary conversation and it's over before you know it.
That I agree with that because it's like, but that's why it's so important to like make more challenging things, right? Like if the culture is going short and quick and inflammatory, it's a knockout video, it's a girl shaking her butt, like they're going that way. We have to be countercultural. We have to do things that provoke and promote a longer attention span, that have a real message, that do these things because all of us really want it. All of us are really craving like something thoughtful, something that's going to move us, right? How many Transformers movies can you watch before you go like that's it, right? And then when you do watch that one that breaks the mold, that makes you go, yo, I didn't see that coming, or you hear that new sound from like GNX and it's like, oh, he has the meaning with the sound, you feel moved. And like that's what I think really at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is like we're trying to move people and we're trying to show them there's another way.
I like that. I like that. What advice would you give to aspiring comedians?
Fail wildly, take big swings. Comedy, like a lot of creative pursuits, the bigger and wider you fail, the better you actually become. Like you need to take huge swings up there, like figure out who you are, try every different style, try every different, and then, if you tried 100 different things, like you're gonna know, oh, when I do this is when I feel best and when people connect with me most. And don't be afraid of failure. That's the best thing that comedy taught me, because you have to consistently fail all the time in front of people every day. And when you realize you could do that, you don't just get joke writing, you get like a lot of heart out of it.
That is awesome advice. And I think all of us can benefit from that, regardless of our field, because a lot of times people just want to be safe. We don't want to fail. It doesn't feel good to fail, but it's those
Right.
failures that help us.
But
Wow. Well, I want to thank you for joining us.
thank you so much.
Appreciate your time.
You guys were a pleasure to talk to. Thank you for, I mean, like, especially I could even tell you this. It's like I've done a ton of podcasts, but like you guys' questions are so thoughtful and like so meaningful and so engaging. And I feel like you're able to like pull the best out of me, which is, what I want as a guest too. So I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, and you're wholesome. Your answers are wholesome and knowledgeable and considerate of people. I could see you're a great humanitarian as well as a comedian. And that's why you're so good on stage, is because you understand where people's perspectives are and where they should be. And you know how to tell, you're not afraid to tell the truth. So I like it.
100%. We really want to reach people's hearts. And I could just tell from the moment I saw you that you're about touching people's hearts. And so really appreciate your thoughtfulness.
Hey, let's change the world. Let's go.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you guys.